The council chambers fell silent as the news came in. Earth had been invaded. Some thought the humans would beg for peace. They didn't know us very well. The Silent Watchers. The Approaching Shadow. Captain Elena Rodriguez checked her instruments one final time as the stealth frigate Midnight Sentinel drifted silently through the asteroid belt beyond Mars. Her ship was invisible to most sensors, its hull designed to mimic the cold signature of space debris. This patrol route had been routine for 3 years, but today something felt different. The deep space monitoring stations had detected unusual energy signatures moving toward the inner solar system. "Control, this is Rodriguez," she spoke into her headset. "Sector 7 appears normal, but I'm picking up some strange readings on the long-range scanners." The response crackled back from Earth, delayed by the vast distance. "Copy that, Rodriguez. Stay alert. We've been tracking those signatures for 6 hours now. Whatever's coming, it's big." Elena adjusted her position to get a better view of the outer system. Earth looked so small from here, just a blue dot orbiting an ordinary star. It was hard to believe that tiny world held 8 billion people, all living their lives without knowing what might be approaching from the darkness between the stars. Dr. Marcus Chen sat in his laboratory aboard Luna Station, studying the data streams from the Deep Space Monitoring Network. As Earth's chief xenobiologist, he had spent 15 years preparing for this moment. First contact with alien life had always been a possibility, but he had imagined it would be peaceful. A radio signal perhaps, or a clearly artificial probe that showed intelligence. He had not imagined it would look like this. The energy readings showed massive objects moving through space at incredible speeds. Whatever was creating these signatures was larger than anything humans had ever built, much larger. "Dr. Chen," his assistant knocked on the laboratory door. "Commander Harrison wants to see you immediately." Marcus gathered his data tablets and hurried to the command center. Commander Sarah Harrison stood before a wall of displays, her expression grim. Behind her, Admiral Jonathan Torres watched the screens with cold, calculating eyes. "Doctor, what can you tell us about these readings?" Harrison asked without turning around. "They're artificial, Commander, no doubt about it. The patterns are too regular to be natural phenomena, and the size—" Marcus paused, checking his notes. "We're talking about objects at least 10 kilometers long, maybe bigger." "How many?" Admiral Torres stepped forward. "At least 40, possibly more. They're still coming." Torres nodded grimly. "Doctor, in your professional opinion, what are their intentions?" Marcus hesitated. He had studied theoretical alien psychology for years, but this was all speculation. No one knew how real aliens would think or behave. "I can't say for certain, Admiral, but their approach pattern suggests they're not trying to hide. If they wanted peaceful contact, they would probably have sent a smaller vessel first. This looks more like an invasion fleet," Torres finished. The room fell silent. Everyone knew this day might come eventually. Earth had been broadcasting radio signals into space for over 2 centuries. Someone was bound to notice. The Zephyrian Empire High Admiral Vektash of the Zephyrian Empire examined the tactical display with satisfaction. This would be simple. The target world showed minimal technological development, a few primitive orbital stations and some basic chemical rockets. His advanced scouts had been observing for weeks without being detected. "Begin Phase 1 operations," he commanded from the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominion. "I want major population centers identified and isolated within 12 hours. "Yes, High Admiral," his subordinate replied. "Shall we broadcast surrender demands?" "Why bother? They have nothing that could threaten us. Begin deployment of suppression fields. Cut their communications and power grids first." Vektash studied the blue world on his screens. Another primitive species to be brought under Zephyrian control. The Empire had conquered 47 worlds in the past century. This would be number 48. The Zephyrian ships were magnificent and terrible. Each vessel stretched 15 kilometers from bow to stern, their hulls gleaming with an organic metallic sheen that seemed to pulse with inner life. They moved through space like living things, powered by exotic matter engines that warped space-time itself. But Vektash had made a crucial error. His intelligence reports were based on observations of Earth's public technology. The Zephyrians had no idea what humanity had really been building in the shadows of their solar system, the hidden network. President Maria Santos received the emergency alert while reviewing budget proposals in the Oval Office. 20 minutes later, she was in a secure bunker 200 meters beneath Washington, D.C., surrounded by the most classified technology on Earth. "Madam President," General Patricia Williams greeted her, "the situation is developing rapidly. We estimate 18 hours until the alien fleet reaches Earth orbit." Maria studied the massive tactical display that filled one entire wall of the command center. Red dots marked the approaching alien vessels. There were so many of them. What are our options, General? Williams touched a control panel that most people in the room had never seen activated. Madam President, it's time you learned about Project Sentinel. The display changed, showing a completely different view of the solar system. Instead of a few small research stations and patrol ships, it now revealed hundreds of contacts. Weapons platforms, hidden bases, and ships that had been disguised as asteroids for decades. How long have you been building this? Maria asked in amazement. 35 years, ma'am. Ever since we detected the first artificial radio signals from outside our solar system, we knew this day would come. Throughout the solar system, humanity's true military began to wake up. Hidden installations powered up their systems. Ships that had masqueraded as mining vessels armed their weapons. Defense platforms concealed within asteroids prepared for battle. Captain Rodriguez received new orders on a priority channel, orders that made her smile grimly as she brought the Midnight Sentinel to full combat readiness. All units, this is Control, came General Williams' voice over the command frequency. The masquerade is over. Show them what humanity really is. First Blood. Elena Rodriguez led the first wave of Earth's hidden fighter squadron. Her ship, which had seemed like a simple patrol craft, now revealed its true capabilities as experimental drives pushed her past the speed of light. The Midnight Sentinel left a trail of twisted space-time as she accelerated toward the alien fleet. Shadow Squadron, this is Rodriguez. We have visual on the enemy fleet, beginning attack run. 12 ships that had been invisible moments before suddenly appeared around the alien formation. They moved like nothing the Zephyrians had ever seen, dancing between energy blasts and striking at weak points with surgical precision. High Admiral Vektash watched his tactical display with growing confusion. The primitive world below was supposed to have only basic defenses, but his sensors now showed dozens of new contacts appearing throughout the system. Report, he commanded. Sir, massive energy signatures coming online throughout the system. Unknown vessel types emerging from concealment. I count 73 new contacts and rising. Vektash's confidence wavered. His intelligence had been wrong, but it didn't matter. His fleet was still vastly superior to whatever these creatures could field. Begin the bombardment, destroy their orbital installations. But before his weapons could fire, something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to twist around his flagship, and suddenly dozens of human ships appeared where none had been before. Dr. Amelia Foster had been working on the Aurora project in secret for 20 years. The faster-than-light drive was experimental and dangerous, but today she would have to make it work. Aurora 1, this is Dr. Foster. You're cleared for the first combat jump. Target coordinates are uploaded. The experimental ship vanished from Earth orbit and reappeared instantly behind the alien fleet. The psychological effect was devastating. The Zephyrians had never faced an enemy that could appear anywhere at will. The moon's secret Luna station wasn't just a research facility. As the alien bombardment began, the moon's surface cracked open in dozens of places, revealing massive weapons installations that had been hidden for decades. Commander Lisa Park watched from the primary command center as her weapons came online. The moon had been hollowed out and converted into the largest fortress in human history. All batteries, this is Park, fire at will. Energy beams lanced out from concealed positions across the lunar surface, striking alien ships with devastating force. The moon wasn't just defending Earth, it was revealing itself as humanity's first line of defense. High Admiral Vektash stared at his screens in disbelief. The primitive world's moon was attacking his fleet with weapons that rivaled Zephyrian technology. High Admiral, his sensor operator reported in a shaking voice. We're detecting massive power buildups throughout their system. These readings, they're impossible. No primitive species should possess this level of technology. The Galactic Council responds. Halfway across the galaxy, the Galactic Council received an emergency transmission that would change everything. Council Speaker Thalos, an ancient being of crystalline intelligence, studied the report with growing alarm. You're certain of these readings? He asked his science minister. Completely certain, Speaker. We've detected massive weapons discharges in the Sol system. A Zephyrian invasion fleet is engaged with something. The Sol system is listed as a protected primitive world. The inhabitants shouldn't even have spaceflight. That's what makes this so disturbing, Speaker. Either our classifications are completely wrong or something else is happening there. Thalos made a decision that would reshape galactic politics. Prepare the first fleet. We're going to investigate personally. The truth revealed. As the battle raged, Captain Rodriguez received a transmission that made her blood run cold. It was coming from outside the solar system, but the voice was speaking perfect English. Earth Defense Command, this is Admiral Catherine Morrison of the Centauri Colonial Fleet. We've been monitoring your situation. Do you require assistance? General Williams nearly dropped her communication device. Admiral Morrison? That's impossible. There are no human colonies outside the solar system. Actually, General, there are 17 of them. We've been out here for over a century preparing for exactly this situation. Permission to enter the system and provide support? The truth was staggering. While Earth had been building hidden defenses, other humans had been secretly establishing colonies throughout nearby star systems. Humanity had been expanding into space for generations, all while maintaining the illusion of being a primitive, earthbound species. Permission granted, Admiral. Welcome home. As Admiral Morrison's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, High Admiral Vektash finally understood the magnitude of his error. The primitive species he had tried to conquer wasn't primitive at all. They had been hiding their true capabilities, waiting for someone to make the mistake he had just made. Dr. Chen watched from Luna Station as human ships appeared throughout the solar system like stars being born. Ships from Mars, from the asteroid belt, from secret bases on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. Humanity had turned their entire solar system into a fortress, and they had been preparing for this day for over a century. The first phase of the battle was ending, but both Dr. Chen and High Admiral Vektash knew this was just the beginning. The Galactic Council was coming, and when they arrived, they would discover that everything they thought they knew about humanity was wrong. President Santos watched the tactical display as more and more human vessels revealed themselves. The secret was out now. Humanity was no longer hiding what it could accomplish. General Williams, she said quietly, I think it's time the galaxy learned who we really are. The battle for Earth had become something much larger. It had become humanity's announcement to the galaxy that they were ready to take their place among the stars, and they would not be conquered. The Awakening Storm Council arrival. The Galactic Council's first fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system in a display of power that had humbled 1,000 worlds. 50 massive vessels, each one a masterwork of advanced engineering, arranged themselves in perfect formation. Their arrival sent shockwaves through space itself, announcing to everyone in the system that the galaxy's supreme authority had arrived. Council Speaker Thalos materialized on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Harmony. As a being of pure crystalline consciousness, he didn't require a physical form, but he took one to communicate more effectively with other species. Today, his crystalline structure pulsed with colors that indicated deep concern. "Report," he commanded in a voice that resonated through multiple dimensions. Science Minister Quilex, a tall insectoid being from the Arthros Collective, consulted her instruments with obvious confusion. Council Speaker, the situation is unprecedented. We detected an illegal invasion of a protected primitive world, but the primitive world appears to be winning. Thalos studied the tactical display that showed the ongoing battle. Zephyrian ships, some of the most advanced vessels in known space, were being systematically destroyed by forces that shouldn't exist. Show me the energy readings from the human vessels. The data that appeared made Thalos pause. The quantum signatures were familiar, impossibly familiar. They matched theoretical models for technology that the Council's best scientists considered barely possible. Minister Quilex, run a comparative analysis. Cross-reference these signatures with the Archive of Lost Civilizations. As the analysis ran, Thalos observed the battle with growing amazement. The human ships moved with tactical precision that rivaled the Council's own military doctrine. Their weapons displayed principles of physics that some Council species were only beginning to understand. Council Speaker, Quilex's voice carried a note of shock. The analysis is complete. These energy signatures, they match the theoretical profiles of predecessor technology. The bridge fell silent. The predecessors were myths. Legends of an ancient race that had supposedly built the foundations of galactic civilization millions of years ago before vanishing without a trace. Earth's hidden power. High Admiral Vektash found himself facing a nightmare scenario. His invasion fleet was being torn apart by an enemy that seemed to anticipate his every move. Worse, his sensors were detecting energy buildups throughout the human solar system that defied explanation. High Admiral, his tactical officer reported with barely controlled panic. The planet itself is powering up. I'm reading weapon systems that could threaten our entire battle group. Vektash looked at the blue world on his main screen and saw something that made his blood freeze. The planet's surface was beginning to glow with an inner light, as if the world itself was coming alive. On Earth, General Williams activated the deepest secret in human military history. Project Genesis, the transformation protocol that would reveal Earth's true nature. All stations, this is General Williams. Authorization Code Genesis Prime. Begin planetary awakening sequence. Around the world, hidden installations began their work. Massive energy collectors that had been disguised as mountains started drawing power from Earth's core. Ancient tunnels that honeycombed the planet began channeling that energy to weapon systems that had been waiting for this moment. President Santos watched from the command bunker as her world transformed. General, what exactly are we turning Earth into? Madam President, Earth was never just a planet. It's the largest fortress ever constructed, designed by our ancestors to protect humanity until we were ready to reclaim our heritage. The Colonial Fleet's Admiral Catherine Morrison commanded the Centauri Colonial Fleet from the bridge of the battleship New Horizon. Her ships had been traveling through space for 6 months to reach Earth, responding to automated signals that had been dormant for over a century. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we're receiving similar signals from 17 other colonial systems. The hidden fleets are all responding to the awakening protocol. Morrison nodded grimly. The secret was finally out. Humanity had been spreading across local space for generations, establishing hidden colonies and building fleets in preparation for the day when Earth would need them. Open a channel to all colonial commands. It's time for the great revelation. Throughout nearby star systems, human colonies that had hidden their existence for decades began broadcasting their presence. Fleets that had been disguised as asteroid mining operations revealed themselves as battle groups. Entire worlds that had appeared uninhabited suddenly showed massive populations and industrial complexes. Dr. Wei Zhang commanded the scientific mission from Proxima Centauri. His ships carried not just weapons, but the technological archives that humanity had been developing in secret. Earth Command, this is Dr. Zhang. We're transmitting the complete archive. Every breakthrough, every advancement we've made in isolation. It's time Earth had access to all of it. Council Investigation Council Speaker Thalos decided to investigate personally. Against the advice of his security chiefs, he took a small diplomatic vessel toward the heart of the battle. Council Speaker, Minister Quillix protested, this is extremely dangerous. We don't know the humans' intentions. That's exactly why I need to speak with them directly. Open a communication channel. The transmission reached Earth within seconds. President Santos found herself looking at a being of living crystal whose form shifted and flowed with inner light. I am Council Speaker Thalos of the Galactic Council. I request permission to speak with your leaders. Maria felt the weight of history on her shoulders. This was humanity's first formal contact with galactic civilization, and she had to get it right. Council Speaker Thalos, I am President Maria Santos of the United Earth Government. You have permission to approach, but be aware that we are currently defending our world from unprovoked invasion. Indeed, President Santos, the Zephyrian Empire's actions are illegal under galactic law, but I must ask, how does your species possess technology that our best scientists consider theoretical? Maria smiled grimly. Council Speaker, perhaps it's time the galaxy learned the truth about humanity. Ancient secrets. Dr. Marcus Chen made the discovery that would change everything. Deep in Luna Station's most secure laboratory, he was analyzing data from the awakening planetary systems when he found something impossible. Commander Harrison, he called out urgently, you need to see this. The energy signatures from Earth's awakening systems, they're not human technology. What do you mean? I mean they're older than human civilization, much older. These systems were built into Earth millions of years ago, and they've been waiting for humanity to reach sufficient technological development to activate them. Harrison stared at the data. Are you saying Earth was artificially prepared to be a fortress? I'm saying Earth might not be humanity's natural homeworld at all. These systems, this technology, it's like the planet was designed to protect and nurture a specific species until they were ready for something bigger. The Zephyrian retreat. High Admiral Vektash made the hardest decision of his military career. His proud fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to predict his every tactical decision. All ships, execute emergency withdrawal. Signal the council vessel that we request immediate ceasefire negotiations. But as his remaining ships tried to retreat, they found their way blocked by human vessels that appeared from nowhere. The humans weren't just defending anymore, they were preventing escape. This is Admiral Torres of Earth Defense Command, came a transmission on all frequencies. Zephyrian vessels, you will surrender immediately or be destroyed. You initiated this conflict, but we will determine how it ends. Vektash had never surrendered to any enemy, but he had never faced anything like this. Earth vessels, this is High Admiral Vektash. I formally surrender my remaining forces to your custody. Truth and consequences. Council Speaker Thalos met with President Santos aboard the Council flagship in a chamber that defied the laws of physics by showing a perfect view of space in all directions. President Santos, Thalos said carefully, before we proceed with any negotiations, I must ask you directly, what is humanity's true origin? Maria had been briefed by Dr. Chen on his discoveries. The truth was staggering, but it explained everything. Council Speaker, based on our recent archaeological discoveries, humanity didn't evolve naturally on Earth. We were placed there by an advanced civilization that prepared the planet as a refuge and training ground. We're apparently the descendants of a species that once ruled this galaxy. Thalos's crystalline form flickered with shock. The predecessors. You're claiming to be the children of the predecessors. We're claiming nothing. We're stating facts based on evidence. Earth is awakening systems that predate known galactic civilization. Our colonial fleets possess technology that your own sciences consider impossible. The question isn't who we claim to be, it's whether the galaxy is ready for who we actually are. The revelation. As if summoned by Maria's words, new contacts appeared on sensors throughout the system. Massive ships, larger than anything the Council had ever built, emerged from hyperspace near the outer planets. Their design was unlike anything in recorded galactic history, flowing, organic forms that seemed to be grown rather than built. Council Speaker, came a transmission in a voice that seemed to come from the stars themselves. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Predecessor Preservation Fleet. We've been watching the galaxy's development for 3 million years. Today, we return. The ships that appeared were beyond description. They moved through space like living things, powered by forces that bent reality itself. Each vessel carried the population of entire worlds, humans who had been traveling between galaxies, preserving and protecting the knowledge of an ancient civilization. Thalos felt something he had never experienced in his million-year existence, genuine awe. You're really them, the builders, the first civilization. You've returned. We never left, Council Speaker. We've been waiting for our children to grow strong enough to face what's coming. The greater threat. Admiral Sarah Chen's revelation sent shockwaves through both the Council and Earth's leadership. The predecessor fleet brought with them warnings of a threat that dwarfed anything the galaxy had yet faced. The Devourers are coming, Admiral Chen explained to the assembled leaders. They consumed the Andromeda Galaxy 2 million years ago. We've been preparing this galaxy's defenses ever since, using humanity as our advance force. High Admiral Vektash, now a prisoner but present at the negotiations, spoke up. The Devourers? That's a myth, a children's story. The Zephyrian Empire fled their original homeworld to escape them, Admiral Chen replied quietly. You just didn't realize what you were running from. The truth was staggering. The Zephyrian invasion hadn't been conquest for conquest's sake. They had been refugees, fleeing across space from an enemy that consumed entire star systems. New alliances. President Santos found herself at the center of negotiations that would reshape galactic civilization. The Council wanted humanity to take its place as a member species. The Zephyrians were requesting asylum and alliance. The predecessor fleet was offering technology that could transform civilization itself. Council Speaker Thalos, she said formally, humanity accepts membership in the Galactic Council, but with conditions. We will not be junior partners in our own galaxy. We're offering protection to all species willing to stand with us against the Devourers. And the Zephyrians? Thalos asked. High Admiral Vektash, your invasion was illegal and caused the deaths of human personnel. However, your people are refugees fleeing an existential threat. We offer alliance in exchange for full disclosure about the Devourer threat and integration of your forces with our defensive preparations. Vektash considered the offer. His pride as a warrior warred with his duty to his people. President Santos, the Zephyrian Empire formally requests alliance with humanity and the Galactic Council. We will place our fleets under joint command, the awakening complete. As negotiations continued, Earth completed its transformation. The planet's surface now showed vast energy collectors and weapons arrays that had been hidden for eons. The moon revealed itself as a massive battle station. Throughout the solar system, ancient installations came online, ready to serve as humanity's first line of defense. Dr. Chen made one final discovery that put everything in perspective. The entire local galaxy cluster has been prepared like this. Humanity isn't just a hidden civilization. We're the immune system for this region of space. Admiral Catherine Morrison brought news from the colonial fleets that confirmed Chen's theory. We've found evidence of similar preparations on dozens of worlds, sleeping installations, hidden fleets, entire civilizations that have been preparing for this moment. Council Speaker Thalos realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew about civilization was wrong. The Galactic Council hadn't been governing an independent civilization. They had been maintaining order until the real protectors returned. President Santos, he said formally, the Galactic Council hereby recognizes humanity as the rightful guardians of this galaxy. We place ourselves under your protection. The age of humanity hiding was over. The age of humanity protecting had begun. And in the darkness between galaxies, ancient enemies were stirring, unaware that their prey had finally grown strong enough to fight back. Children of the Void. The Ancient Truth. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the newly revealed chamber beneath Earth's surface, surrounded by technology that made her life's work in theoretical physics seem primitive by comparison. The chamber had been hidden 3 kilometers below the Sahara Desert, sealed behind barriers that had only opened when Earth's ancient systems fully activated. This changes everything we thought we knew about human history, she whispered to her research team as they examined crystalline structures that pulsed with inner light. The walls were covered with star maps that showed the galaxy as it had been millions of years ago. But more shocking were the records they contained, detailed histories of humanity's true origin and purpose. Admiral Sarah Chen of the predecessor fleet studied the data with emotions she had thought buried after millennia of isolation. Your people call us the predecessors, but our true name was the architects. We built this galaxy's civilization to prepare for a war that spans multiple galactic clusters. President Santos listened from the surface via quantum communication link as the truth unfolded. Humanity hadn't evolved naturally on Earth. They had been carefully designed as warriors and guardians, their genetics encoding not just biological information, but technological knowledge that would awaken when they reached sufficient development. Every human carries the blueprints for faster-than-light travel, weapons technology, and defensive systems in their DNA, Dr. Vasquez reported. We haven't been discovering new technology. We've been remembering ancient knowledge. The Galactic Awakening Council Speaker Thalos coordinated the galaxy's response from the bridge of his flagship as more revelations emerged. The quantum communication network that connected all Council worlds was carrying impossible reports. Council Speaker, Science Minister Quillex reported with barely controlled excitement, we're receiving awakening signals from 47 different star systems. Ancient installations are coming online throughout the galaxy. On the main display, a 3-dimensional map of local space showed pulsing lights as hidden facilities revealed themselves. Each light represented a defensive installation that had been waiting for this moment. It's not just Earth, Thalos realized. The architects prepared the entire galaxy as a fortress. Admiral Catherine Morrison commanded the growing fleet of human vessels as they spread out to investigate the awakening installations. Her orders were simple but profound: make contact with every sleeping facility and prepare them for active duty. Admiral Morrison, came a transmission from the Vega system. This is Commander David Park of the Vega Archaeological Station. We're reading massive energy buildups from the artificial moon orbiting Vega 7. The structure it's coming alive. Throughout space, installations that had been disguised as natural phenomena for millions of years were revealing their true nature. Asteroids unfolded into weapons platforms. Gas giant moons showed themselves to be massive shipyards. Entire nebulae began organizing themselves into defensive formations. The Devourer threat. High Admiral Vektash worked alongside his former enemies to provide intelligence about the threat that had driven his people to become refugees. In a secure conference room aboard the Council flagship, he shared data that made even the architect veterans pale. The Devourers aren't a species, he explained to the assembled leaders. They're a force of nature that consumes matter and energy, converting everything into more of themselves. They've destroyed 17 different galactic clusters that we know of. Admiral Torres studied the sensor logs that Zephyrian long-range scouts had gathered. How long do we have? Based on their progression through the void between galaxies, approximately 50 standard years, Vektash replied grimly. But when they arrive, they won't come slowly. The entire Devourer mass will enter our galaxy simultaneously. Dr. Marcus Chen had been analyzing the threat data alongside the newly awakened Architect archives. His discovery would reshape their entire defensive strategy. The Devourers aren't invulnerable, he announced to the War Council. The Architect records show successful defensive actions in other galaxy clusters. The key is coordinated resistance across an entire galactic structure. The military awakening general Patricia Williams found herself commanding the largest military force in galactic history as human installations throughout space came online. The hidden network she had helped build around Earth was just the beginning, a single node in a defensive system that spanned thousands of light years. General Williams, reported Colonel James Harrison from the newly activated Jupiter Defense Grid, we're receiving organizational protocols from the Awakening installations. They're automatically integrating into a unified command structure. The scope was staggering. Weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets, manufacturing facilities that could build ships faster than any known technology, training centers that could educate millions of beings in advanced combat techniques. Captain Elena Rodriguez found herself promoted to admiral as she took command of the mobile strike fleet. Her ship, the Midnight Sentinel, had been upgraded with architect technology that made it capable of fighting entire enemy fleets single-handedly. Admiral Rodriguez, came the transmission from Admiral Morrison. Your fleet is to proceed to the Rigel system. We're detecting a massive architect facility awakening there. Your mission is to make contact and bring it online. The Council's choice council speaker. Thalos faced the most important decision in galactic history. The awakening architect systems were offering integration into a defensive network that would militarize the entire galaxy. Council speaker, urged Minister Quillix, some member species are expressing concern about human dominance of galactic defense. They fear humanity will use this crisis to establish an empire. Thalos studied the reports from across the galaxy. In every system where architect installations had awakened, they had worked alongside local species rather than displacing them. The humans seemed genuinely committed to protection rather than conquest. Minister, humanity has possessed the ability to conquer the galaxy for over a century. If they wanted an empire, they could have built one in secret. Instead, they built a defense network and waited for the galaxy to need them. The decision was made. The Galactic Council would integrate with the Architect Defense Network, placing their fleets and resources under joint human command. The Zephyrian Integration High Admiral Vektosh surprised everyone by adapting quickly to his new role as an ally rather than a conqueror. The Zephyrian military doctrine, focused on overwhelming force and rapid conquest, proved surprisingly compatible with Architect defensive strategies. Admiral Vektosh, President Santos addressed him during a planning session. Your people's experience with the Devourers makes you invaluable. We're offering full integration of Zephyrian forces with our defensive fleets. Vektosh considered the proposal. His people had been warriors for millennia, but they had been losing warriors, always fleeing from threats they couldn't defeat. The chance to finally stand and fight was irresistible. President Santos, the Zephyrian Empire formally dissolves itself and petitions for membership in the Galactic Defense Alliance. Our fleets, our technology, our warriors, everything we have is at your disposal. The integration was remarkable. Zephyrian ships, with their powerful engines and heavy weapons, proved ideal platforms for Architect defensive systems. Their crews, experienced in rapid deployment and aggressive tactics, excelled at the hit-and-run warfare that the Architect strategy demanded. The scientific revolution. Dr. Elena Vasquez made breakthrough after breakthrough as the Architect archives opened their secrets. The technology was beyond anything current science considered possible, but it was also surprisingly elegant and logical. We've been thinking about physics incorrectly, she explained to a gathering of the galaxy's best scientists. The architects understood that space, time, matter, and energy are all manifestations of a single underlying reality. Once you grasp that principle, faster-than-light travel, matter conversion, and dimensional manipulation become simple engineering problems. The revelations went beyond technology. The Architect records contained detailed studies of the Devourers, including their weaknesses and the most effective methods for fighting them. The Devourers consume matter and energy, but they can't process quantum information, Dr. Chen reported. The Architect weapons don't just destroy Devourer mass, they corrupt their quantum coherence, preventing them from reconstituting. The final preparations Admiral Sarah Chen of the predecessor fleet oversaw the massive construction projects that would prepare the galaxy for war. Entire star systems were being converted into manufacturing centers. Dead worlds were being transformed into weapons platforms. The scale is unprecedented, she reported to the Alliance leadership. We're essentially turning the galaxy itself into a fortress. Every star system will have defensive capabilities. Every inhabited world will be protected by installations that can hold off entire fleets. The work was exhausting but inspiring. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked side by side to build humanity's vision of galactic defense. Ancient rivalries were set aside in the face of an existential threat. Captain Rodriguez, now commanding a fleet of advanced Architect vessels, led the exploration of awakening installations in the Outer Rim. Her reports painted a picture of defensive preparations on a scale that dwarfed imagination. Command, this is Admiral Rodriguez reporting from the Cygnus sector. We've activated the installation here, and it's magnificent. The entire nebula is a camouflaged shipyard capable of producing dreadnought-class vessels at a rate of 1 per day. The New Order President Santos addressed the galaxy from the newly revealed command center beneath Earth's surface. The chamber was vast beyond comprehension, its walls showing real-time displays of every star system in the galaxy. Ancient architect technology allowed her words to be transmitted instantly to every world, every ship, every installation. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice carrying across space itself. 50 years ago, we thought we were alone. Today, we stand united as never before. The threat we face is unlike anything in recorded history, but we are not the helpless primitives our enemies expect to find. The response was immediate and overwhelming. From thousands of worlds, billions of voices responded in unity. Species that had never spoken to each other pledged their support. Ancient enemies declared eternal alliance. Council Speaker Thalos watched the unprecedented display of galactic unity with wonder. "In a million years of existence, I have never seen anything like this. Humanity hasn't just awakened sleeping defenses, they've awakened hope itself." The Deep Space Watchers. Admiral Morrison led the expedition to the galaxy's edge, where the most advanced architect installations waited in the void between stars. These facilities had been watching the intergalactic darkness for millions of years, gathering intelligence on the approaching threat. "Command, we've reached the outer beacon," Morrison reported from the bridge of her flagship. "The installation is incredible. It's not just a sensor array, it's a fortress the size of a small moon, equipped with weapons that could sterilize entire sectors." The data flowing back from the outer beacons painted a detailed picture of the Devourer threat. The enemy wasn't a single entity, but a collective consciousness made up of converted matter from dozens of consumed galaxies. "They're not just destroying civilizations," Dr. Chen reported after analyzing the beacon data. "They're absorbing them. Every species they consume becomes part of their collective intelligence. They know everything their victims knew." The training initiative General Williams oversaw the most ambitious military training program in galactic history. The architect installations included comprehensive educational systems that could download millennia of combat experience directly into willing minds. "The technology is beyond anything we imagined," she reported to the Alliance leadership. "We can train a civilian to admiral-level competency in 6 months. The architects literally designed these systems to rapidly militarize an entire galaxy." The training centers worked around the clock. Species that had never seen warfare learned to command star fleets. Peaceful researchers became tactical experts. The galaxy's entire population was becoming a military force. Captain Elena Rodriguez emerged from the advanced training programs as one of humanity's foremost experts in architect warfare. Her understanding of the ancient tactics would prove crucial in the battles to come. "The architects fought the Devourers for millions of years across dozens of galaxies," she explained to her senior staff. "Every tactic we're learning was paid for in blood by our predecessors. We have the advantage of their complete battle experience." The Diplomatic Revolution Ambassador Yunji Wu found herself managing the most complex diplomatic situation in galactic history. The awakening had revealed that dozens of species had hidden connections to the architects, creating a web of ancient alliances that needed to be carefully managed. "The Veltari have been guarding architect installations for 50,000 years, she reported to President Santos. "The Crystalline Collective has been maintaining quantum communication networks. Even species we thought were primitive have been playing crucial roles in the defense network." The revelations kept coming. Ancient treaties written in languages that predated known civilizations suddenly became relevant. Species that had seemed unrelated revealed deep connections through the architect legacy. "We're not just fighting for our galaxy," President Santos realized. "We're fighting to become the guardians of this entire region of the universe." Admiral Sarah Chen of the predecessor fleet provided the final piece of the puzzle. The architects didn't just prepare one galaxy for defense. They prepared 17 different galactic clusters, each with its own guardian species. Humanity is destined to become the protectors of local space. The Great Mobilization. As the 30-year countdown to the Devourer arrival began, the galaxy transformed itself into the greatest military force in cosmic history. Every world became a fortress. Every species became warriors. Every star system became a weapon. General Williams coordinated the largest military construction project ever attempted. "We're building defensive installations in 40,000 star systems simultaneously," she reported. When the Devourers arrive, they'll face resistance in every cubic meter of galactic space. The scope was breathtaking. Ancient architect shipyards came online throughout the galaxy, producing vessels designed specifically for fighting cosmic-level threats. Training centers processed billions of recruits, turning peaceful civilians into expert warriors. Captain Rodriguez, now Fleet Admiral Rodriguez, commanded one of 17 sector fleets, each one powerful enough to have conquered the entire galaxy 50 years earlier. The promised President Santos stood before the assembled representatives of 800 species and delivered the words that would define the new age. Citizens of the galaxy, children of the architects, defenders of space itself, we face an enemy that has destroyed civilizations beyond counting. But we are not those civilizations. We are prepared. We are united. We are ready. The response echoed across space itself, carried by quantum communications to every corner of the galaxy. Billions of voices speaking hundreds of languages, all saying the same thing. We are ready. High Admiral Vectash, now commanding the Alliance's rapid response fleets, added his own promise. The age of running is over. The age of hiding is over. When the Devourers arrive, they will face the united fury of a galaxy that refuses to die. Council Speaker Thalos, speaking for the ancient species of the galaxy, made the final pledge. We have waited 1,000,000 years for this moment. The children of the architects have returned. The galaxy has its guardians once more. As the countdown continued, and the galaxy prepared for the greatest war in cosmic history, one thing was clear to everyone involved. Humanity had hidden in shadows for millennia, but when they emerged as the protectors of space itself. The Devourers were coming, but for the first time in cosmic history, a galaxy was ready for them. The age of cosmic warfare was about to begin, and humanity would lead the galaxy into the greatest battle ever fought. Epilogue: The Eternal Watch. 29 years later, Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the massive battle station Galactic Sentinel, watching the darkness between galaxies for the first signs of the enemy's arrival. Around her, the galaxy hummed with purpose and preparation. The Alliance had used their time well. Every prediction the architects had made about the coming war had proven accurate. The galaxy was ready. Admiral, her communications officer reported, "We're receiving the final readiness reports from all sectors. The galaxy reports, ready for war." Rodriguez nodded and opened a channel to every ship, every station, every world in the galaxy. Citizens of the Alliance, children of the architects, guardians of cosmic peace, they're coming, but we're ready for them. In the darkness between galaxies, ancient sensors detected the approaching mass of the Devourer fleet. The greatest war in cosmic history was about to begin. But this time, the galaxy would not fall. This time, the defenders were ready. High Admiral Vectash proved surprisingly adept at these delicate negotiations. His warrior's straightforward approach cut through diplomatic complexity with refreshing efficiency. "Ambassador Wu," he said during one particularly complex session, "the Devourers do not negotiate. They do not compromise. Every moment we spend in debate is a moment they use to grow stronger. Unity now, politics later." The technology integration Dr. Elena Vasquez led the massive project of integrating architect technology with existing galactic infrastructure. The challenge was enormous. The ancient systems were designed for a galaxy-wide civilization that no longer existed. "We're essentially reverse engineering our own evolutionary destiny," she explained to her research teams. "Every human, every allied species carries genetic markers that interface with architect technology. We're not learning to use alien tools, we're remembering how to use tools we were designed for." The integration proceeded faster than anyone had dared hope. Galactic communication networks upgraded themselves overnight. Transportation systems became capable of moving entire populations between star systems. Manufacturing facilities began producing materials that current science said were impossible. Engineer Kim Jong-un discovered that his quantum weapons research had been unconsciously following architect principles for decades. "We weren't inventing new technology," he realized. "We were rediscovering ancient knowledge encoded in our genes." The enemy's approach. The long-range sensors at the galaxy's edge detected the first signs of the Devourer approach. Subtle distortions in the cosmic background radiation that indicated massive objects moving through the void between galaxies. "They're still 30 years out," Admiral Chen reported grimly, "but the leading edge of their formation is already larger than our entire galaxy. When they arrive, they'll come all at once." The scale was terrifying. The Devourers had consumed so much matter that their collective mass was gravitationally affecting nearby galaxy clusters. They weren't just an invasion force, they were a cosmic disaster in motion. Dr. Marcus Chen worked frantically to understand the enemy's nature. "They're not alive in any sense we understand," he reported. "They're more like a self-replicating physics experiment that got out of control. They convert matter into a form of exotic matter that exists partially outside normal space-time." The first test. The Alliance faced its first real test when a Devourer scout probe entered the galaxy's outer rim. The probe was tiny by Devourer standards, only the size of a moon, but it immediately began consuming asteroids and converting them into more of itself. Admiral Rodriguez led the response fleet to intercept the probe. The battle would test every aspect of the Alliance's new military doctrine. "All ships, this is Rodriguez. Remember your training. Architect weapons disrupt their quantum coherence. Hit them with everything we have, then withdraw before they can adapt." The battle was brief but decisive. The Architect weapons proved devastatingly effective against Devourer matter. The probe was destroyed before it could transmit intelligence back to the main force. "Command, this is Rodriguez. Target destroyed with minimal losses. The weapons work exactly as designed. We can hurt them." The unity deepens. The successful defense against the probe scout created a wave of confidence throughout the galaxy. Species that had been hesitant to fully commit to the Alliance now threw their complete support behind humanity's leadership. President Santos, Council Speaker Thalos announced formally, "The Galactic Council votes to dissolve itself and reform as the Alliance Council under human authority. We trust you to lead us through this crisis." The ceremony took place simultaneously on 1,000 worlds, broadcast through the quantum communication network to every corner of the galaxy. Ancient species that had never bent the knee to anyone formally acknowledged humanity as their protectors. High Admiral Vektash spoke for many when he addressed the Alliance. "Humanity, you have shown us that refugees can become defenders, that the hunted can become hunters. The Zephyrian people pledge eternal alliance to the cause of galactic freedom." The final revelations. In the deepest archives beneath Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez made the discovery that would define the coming war. The Architect records contain detailed battle plans for a conflict that spanned multiple galactic clusters. "The Devourers aren't unique," she announced to the Alliance leadership. "They're part of a pattern that repeats throughout the universe." The Architects identified 17 similar threats across cosmic history. The revelation was staggering. The galaxy wasn't just preparing for one war, it was preparing to become the defender of local space against cosmic-level threats.